Hello everyone, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. Today is Friday and on Fridays I do florals, but today I thought I'd mix it up and let's do a mixed media floral design. So we'll be playing with watercolor, gouache, some pen and ink. I go over this step by step, and this is a tutorial from beginner to advanced and everything in between. You know, it depends on your skill level. It's how you react when you paint this painting. Well, you can add more elements or take away more elements. Simple circles, but then you add in all kinds of finite details to make it more interesting. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Let me know if you're interested in some multimedia tutorials. I'd love to do some more, and if it's something that you're interested in, put a comment below and tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, traceables, and a live stream on the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel. You can check it out right now. In the top right-hand corner is a little boop that pops up. Just click on that and you can see it. So without further ado, let's get painting. All right, people. I'm going to go over some supplies that I have that I'll be using today. I have this Strathmore 100% cotton watercolor travel pad. This is a 6x8. I can't find the link for it in Amazon, but I have an 8x10 link in there that I'm going to give you. I got this on another site. I can't remember which one it was. My palette here with my paints as I go over them, as I use them. It doesn't matter what paints that I use. Use whatever paints you have. This is not a specific, colors you have to have. It's just an idea of what do you do with the background, right? When you paint some beautiful floral composition. And a really simple one anyway. And paper towels, and I like to use various brushes, and it's always good to use actually a really big brush when you're doing a small painting, because it can get really loose. So I have a 12 round Princeton Neptune series. I'll go back in and use my 8 for details because it has a nice point to it. This is the 8 long round Velvet Touch series. I could go back in and still use smaller brushes like an 8 round, not 8. See the difference between the 8 long round and the 8 round? Nice difference. And we can get really super details with, a liner brush, or even using a Sharpie pen at the end. We could use a micron pen. We're just playing around. So you're like, what do I do? What do I start? I just start sometimes, this is, kind of thinking outside the box. Like you would start sometimes with the flower. If you wanted to draw the vase, I would draw the vase afterwards, because how flowers kind of cascade over vases. So it's kind of fun just to paint them first and then see where the vase would go. It could be a big, huge flower bouquet with a tiny little vase and all that nonsense. And that's why, I said using a big brush on a small pad is kind of fun. Oh, of course I have water up here. I have 3 water jars actually. So mix up some, colors that you want to mix up. I'm taking this bright rose, just getting this really loose. I'll take it up here again and I'll add some yellow to it to make it like a blush tone. And when you're working, bigger, you're going to have to make more watercolor paint. So whatever you did, so this is a small pad, but if you want to do a bigger pad, like I have this big one that I did over here, well, you can kind of see it. I had to use more paint. So I'm just going to get this really loose. This is like water consistency. If it's too wet, you can always tap on a paper towel, but I'm going to just do this. Just make simple shapes. So this is like a circle, kind of blobby, wiggle the side. I'm going to make this even bigger. Like I said, make some big flowers, and the vase probably be this big. I have paint all over me, so you can tell I'm an artist, right? I don't understand these people who have perfect fingernails and stuff like that, because it just doesn't happen for me. I get my toenails painted though. So it's just a blobby kind of circle, but you see it's not actually round. It's got some variegated edges, and I've got this blush tone. I'm going to go back in and get some more of this paint. So I don't have paint, see? You really go through paint. Same thing, kind of wiggle, see? Anybody can do this. Where it gets more advanced is what you add to it. So the beginning is we're all beginners in the beginning, right? You can kind of connect them. Now at this point, I'm going to need to spread out. You have to think about, this is where you think about composition, right? How far out you're going to spread out, where you're going to go. I'm going to take the yellow, just water it down a little bit. And see, it's such a big belly on this thing. You can make perfect little daisies or black-eyed Susans. Just pushing down. I'm going to grab a little more yellow. Pushing down, connecting them. Right? Grabbing some more paint. And I just do little short ones here to indicate that it's sideways. See? You can do a smaller one here. Just playing around with where the flower's going to go. You don't want all the flowers to be the same. You want them variegated. Like, I got some round ones. I got some, like, you know, daisy type of petals. And don't all crunch them in together, right? You want some air in between the flowers. So I'm going to go back and grab some like rose. And I'll just put some little simple ones here. Another one here, just like a little blob. If it bleeds into that one, it's fine. I want some air here. I don't want to put any more flowers in here. See what I'm talking about with air? Leaving the white space is the air. You can crowd it. I mean, it's up to you. I just don't want to do that. We can go back. Obviously, I'm dealing with, also, I didn't talk about this, hot tones. So I just gravitated naturally to making some like hot color flowers. Maybe you feel cool and blue today and do some blue tones, or you can add them both in. That's the beauty of having, you know, nothing to do, stress-free kind of flowers. You just want to play. I have all these beautiful colors up here, like this Verdier blue, and now I'm like, I'm gravitating towards that. And I already had pink on my brush, so it's kind of making it a little bit of a lilac tone. I could add a little pink to that, and I would make it like purple. Nice little purple lilac kind of color. Look at how pretty that is. And I'm thinking what would be purple up here? Maybe like a delphinium shape. So maybe just something that looks like this. It has a lot of air. See the air is flowing in between the flower. Just simple shape like that. Kind of coming off that. And I might twist my paper and kind of put another one here. See? This looks like nothing right now, but it will turn into something. Still using this big old brush. You know, play around. Maybe make an orange kind of color tone flower now. Again, I'm just going to do this really kind of goofy shape. It's kind of a blushy orange. And you can make all daisies. You don't have to make what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to do another little one down here. And another little one, just a round kind of, maybe add pink to that. Play around, right? Now at this point, would I do some greenery? Probably mix up some greens. So I'll take my peacock blue. It's got some of that yellow orange in there. Grab the yellow, more yellow, and get some pretty greens. Still using this big old brush. I'll tap it. More water on this particular color. And I'm just going to push down, kind of pull back. It's kind of like a faded leaf. Maybe have a stem coming here. Simple. Simple leaves. Might add some more yellow. Some bright color tone leaves. Stem, bright leaves, bright. Just taking the tip of this, kind of going up here for the stem for this. Not really adding much green to that, just leaving it like that. Getting more blue in my brush, right? I have the peacock here. I can add some Prussian blue, make it really dark. And a little bit of yellow, less water. Maybe you see how dark that is? Just throw in a dark one and put a little dark blob here and a dark leaf here. I'm trying not to get too in my head with these things. Now this is where the fun comes in, right? You take the long round brush. So you have that dark tone. They're still using very bright colors here, by the way. I'm going to go back and add some Prussian blue and some yellow. Prussian blue. I'm going to get it darker. Okay. And maybe a little bit of burnt umber. I like the burnt umber because it kind of tones down the green from the blue to more of a muted, deep olive kind of color. And see, this is like the nice long tip. So this is where you can have some fun making some stems and leaves. Just kind of going out here. Chris, I bled right over that. Well, look at those happy accidents. Sometimes they're really fun. Maybe you didn't want that, but you can quickly just go grab your paper towel and tap in there. You see how I just made this simple line? I think it was a little too thick for what I wanted. These got to dry. They'll bleed if they're not dry. See? Leaves like this. See how more interesting it's already getting because you're adding linear designs. That's still bleeding, so we'll have to come out here. Boom. Getting very interesting, right? Make the leaf for this one open, linear. Different. Just with this tip. See, I'm just making simple leaf shapes going over this. Playing with that. This is still wet, obviously, but I'll still play with it anyway. Why not? I think this guy is dry. And I'll just go like right over that. Boom. See, it's already more interesting. Now, at this point, I might say to myself, I want to put in a vase. So I probably would draw it in. I would take like a 2H pencil, right? And what kind of shape do I want? A simple kind of coming in, shape here, and then a little blob at the end, or just a round vase. There's so many different types of vase you can make, right? I think if you wanted a round vase, you want to see the top. I don't know. We'll play around with that. And I don't know if I want to cut it off the page or show the bottom, but I think I might show the bottom. So I'm just going to do like a, nice curved line here. Going to go back in and then have the vase come out like this. This is why I do the pencil part, because it might seem goofy, and then you might want to erase that. So maybe I'll make it even skinnier. I had it kind of wider. Skinnier. So that's where my vase is going to go. And then you have to decide, do you want the vase to be solid or have a pattern? Now I'm going to play around pattern after pattern. So I'm going to do pattern. I'm using my 8 long round again, because now this is smaller. And I want to go in between some of the crevices here. I'm going to use ultramarine blue. It's such a lovely color. And I'm going to go around, leaving a white like halo around all the designs we just did, even including the linear ones. See that? Very simply like this. Just the consistency of the water. If it's too watery, I talk about this all the time, just tap it on your paper towel. It takes off all the excess water. It's that simple. People have a hard time controlling their water because they keep leaving it on the brush. Tap it. Tap it on a paper towel or a towel, whatever you use to get, And I'm going to make this vase go up in here. I'm going to stop right here. I'm just going to fill this in, one wash of color. And I'll have to let that dry. And here's the bottom part that I drew. And I'll just fill this in. See? Anybody can do this. Where it gets more advanced is what you do with the inside of it. All right, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So while these guys are just look kind of plain and simple and round flowers, this is where you get the advanced part, right? So now we can get some of this yellowish blush color. I'm going to water this down. Some interesting designs on our little weird flower we made, right? So you just take the linear part of this brush, you can hold it on its side. That may be too dark, so I'll tap it off my paper towel. See, just making these scrapey kind of lines. They're just like a shade darker, but they add so much more interest. And you can make them short. See, I'm doing little short ones, bunch of little short ones and long ones. And when that dries, you can go back in and use another darker color. We have that rose simple flower here. There's so many different things you can do with it, right? You can just make a nice, ooh, that was hideous. Real-time tutorial guy. Paper towel. See what happens when you make a mistake? If your brush was dirty, just clean it up right away. Go back here and grab that darker rose. And this is kind of cute, just like that. You can do a bunch of little teeny flowers like this, and it's so sweet, you know? But we're not going to do that. We're going to add some interest. So you can add some interest by taking that color, watering it down more, doing some little side marks like this. See, like little dashes. If you want, you could do some linear lines like that. Just change it up. And would I do dashes all around the flower? Maybe not. If you want it to look more like a rose, maybe a bigger one. See? Bigger. Push them together. Ooh, it changed it again, didn't it? And go back in with your pink and play around with adding some lines like out here. Not too much. And I just put some water here and I made that bleed a little bit. Didn't take much to do that, did it? And you go back in and again. And this paper is not super wet on wet kind of paper where you doing these wonderful bleeds. But that's the beauty. You have to play with it. It looks like a pretty little rose, right? And down in here, again, maybe I would just do like a nice darker circle. Maybe I'll grab some yellow. Yeah, I grabbed some of that bright yellow. I didn't do a yellow center, but on this one I could do a nice bright yellow center. Right? Even though it's yellow on yellow, I can add that. I can wait till that dries and go and add some other colors. So I'll mix my pink with the yellow, get like a nice orange. Water that down and use this, again, the linear part of the paintbrush. Do these lines. See, it wasn't much to do. Back and forth. Kind of gravitating towards the center. Do you see how I just did that? Back and forth. Boop, boop, boop. And you could do it like an open daisy with like the line coming out like we do in the leaves. See that? That's very interesting too. Take that same concept and just do a wiggle for this flower. That's it. Like, look how cute that is. Is it easy? Wiggle this one. Little marks, just teeny little marks with the tip of the brush. Don't overdo it, right? And in here, I do the center, and then you can do some little, almost like scallops, linear scallops. See, little do dashes. Kind of so it looks like a, what do you call the flower? It goes COVID green. And I have them on my deck. I'll remember it in a bit. Just like that. See, I just did a little dashes around and changes it so much. And then you can get some more concentrated paint, which means minimal water. See, it's right out of the tube almost. Add a little bit of color or water. What happens? You put that in the center. Oh, cute. See? All these little things you can do. Right? And again, with this linear line, concentrated paint, making the bigger dashes. Just these little scallopy kind of dashes. Goes a long way to create something really sweet and simple. And then, we're going back to the vase. The vase should be dry by now. And I'll take more ultramarine blue, a little less water, darker, and I'll start to create pattern. So you do some lines, maybe put some scallops on the bottom, right? You can outline it. You can put another flower. So maybe make this like a daisy type flower pattern, and then have some leaves connecting it. Leaves kind of coming off the vase. More flower pattern off the vase. Leaves. So you get pattern within pattern. It's so much fun to do this. And it's a really pretty look too, by the way. And then like here in the bottom, I'll just put some linear lines curving with the actual shape of the vase. And if I want to do an outline, I can do an outline if I feel like I need it. Sometimes it's not necessary. I kind of like without it. And then, of course, this will dry later again, and you go back in and you can do some linear work in here, just like we did up here, adding in some just nice little lines of indicating flowers or leaves or patterns, little dots. Make it interesting. See, made little lines. I thought something like this is really simple. You say it's not, but it is. Right? Going off my brush. And then, of course, I think I'll make those like black-eyed Susan. So I have this color called neutral tint. It's like a blackish gray. And I'll just water it down a little bit. I'll leave a little white center. That's what I call my little halo. Look how easy that was to create such a cute little flower. Okay, the way you get more sophisticated is you're adding more and more elements and the background. So what would I do for the background? I mean, oh, by the way, so the delphinium kind of like purpley thing up here, I would go back in with the purple color and kind of do some purple lines. Again, to bring interest, right, to this little flower, whatever. It looks like kind of like a delphinium, so I'm kind of making those little marks that indicate that. Interesting. And then I'm going to put some purple over here just to balance some purple. So now I'm just going to do something simple. I'm just going to take white gouache and black gouache, make a gray, obviously, and we'll just fill the whole background. And this part, when I use the gouache, I'm mixing especially, I use like a crappy brush because that's a lot of black actually. I don't need all that black. Let me just put that over here. I could use that for something else. And mix the gouache. So we have this nice solid color. So we have this beautiful loose kind of floral. And what's really cool is you make a juxtaposition with it, with the background being a solid color. Now I can probably use this brush because I can manipulate it enough just to use it, you know, without, even though it's kind of crappy, to paint the background. It's small enough and yet manipulate. See how you're just painting in this solid color. Now you can touch the vase, but I like to leave a little halo. So I'm going to leave some white. And don't fill in all the sections around all the flowers. Kind of leave a little white around there. The air again, remember? The air. It's got to breathe. So maybe I'll leave a lot of air here. And just go around this section. And leave some air here. In the middle. And this is what we do to make it more interesting for the background. People ask me all the time, what do I do with the background? You could put watercolor in the background, no problem. You can paint black in the background, would be really kind of cool. Sometimes you can touch the flower too. You don't have to leave white around every single edge. It's just, you know, variegate it so it's not just one way you're painting it. Leave some air, like I said. I might leave air way up here. I'm not going to fill all that in. Just fill it in down here. And you have a really interesting composition, really interesting design, you know. So I'm going to fill this in and we're going to come back and talk about the rest. Okay, once it's dry, then you can go back in with your Princeton 8 long round. Going to mix up some of this orange again. Get even darker with your little lines, like here. Right? You can come outside, go right on top of that gray. See? Make all those little doodad lines that you like, even in here. So we talked about having the Sharpie pens or the micron pens. These are also a great tool. It's fun to play with. You can add some lines that come out and over. See? Just squiggling like the delphinium. I could do some squiggles on this. on the leaves, make some veins. So now you've gotten kind of a multimedia scenario. It's fun to put even just little doodad flowers. You can put like a little stem here. Again, adding more interest to your drawing, your painting. This could be the pen or this could be the paintbrush. You can add more details with the pen. See, I'm adding like those little doodads that you're not going to get kind of with the paintbrush. It's just something fun to different do. I'll add another linear flower in here. You know, again, I can add some little ditzy kind of stems, kind of coming down with some little leaves. It's fun to play with this. So I've been trying to see if you can see this. See, I'm adding the lines for the sunflower. You didn't have to do any of this with the marker, but I felt like it was kind of fun to play around with. So there you go. And like I said, you get a little more, you know, advanced by adding in more items, you know, more details. I'm going to go back in here again and add a darker line just to make it more interesting, kind of like on one side and a few on here. These are all the little things and little lines that go dash to make your paintings kind of fun and different. You know, you play around with it. And once your pattern here is dry, I can go back and add some really deep, darker lines with the Prussian blue. So it kind of looks like, you know, this beautiful blue china vases. And that's that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on how to, you know, create backgrounds and make your simple flowers more interesting. It gets more advanced as you add more things. But like I showed you, it's a beginner, it's immediate, to advanced. Depends on what you want to paint, what you want to draw. So if you have any questions in the comment section, let me know if you like these kind of multimedia kind of designs, and if you're interested in me teaching you some more, because I can do a lot of these. All right. I hope you guys have a great day. Please de-stress. Look at this. Was not that hard. It was really just circles, right? Throwing in color, making little dashes, painting a background with a solid color, which is great. This is where gouache comes in handy. And if you only have these two colors, great. Like, you can add the white gouache to some of your colors here and play around with that, you know, it just changes the whole look of the composition. So, and then the vase could be smaller, it could be bigger. You can have the, you know, the whole 9 yards. It could have had a smaller vase and smaller flowers. So you had more background space. This is like less background space, but I could have had way more background space. It's kind of fun to do that with a solid color and background. All right, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. Take care and have a great weekend.